to storm the shores and liberate Manila in early 1945. My great-uncle, Colonel Joseph McMicking, was on MacArthur's staff, walked ashore with him on Leyte Beach, and stood with him as he gave his "I have returned" speech. In the chaos of the American offensive, my father led his young siblings into the still besieged streets in search of American GIs, the only ones who could save him. There were Japanese snipers everywhere as we carried a few belongings and walked in single file among the ruined houses, he later wrote. Suddenly a sniper's shot rang out, and a little boy about 15 feet ahead of me fell. Desperate, my father and his siblings ran for their lives toward the American lines, bullets whizzing past their ears. When they got close, GIs from the 37th Infantry, the Buckeye Division, reached out for them and pulled them to safety. From that day forward to the end of his life, 77 years later, my father felt a profound sense of gratitude to the US. He and his family moved to America and the US military, and he never forgot how the GIs had reached out and saved him and given his life to him. I never forgot that story either, nor did I realize how it would reverberate through the years and finally be replayed, in a way, in my own life. My father felt so indebted to the American military that after graduating from Stanford in 1954, he enlisted to serve for 2 years in Korea as a private during the Korean War. He wanted to earn his US citizenship and pay back what he had been given. He shared his pride in the United States and its military with his children, and I grew up feeling that pride. I am a dual citizen of the US and the UK. My fate, however, would not be to fight in wars, but to be a war correspondent, travelling to the world's most dangerous places and reporting on its most violent conflicts. I went wherever civilization was collapsing under the assault of factions and ideologies, to Aleppo in Syria, Mosul in Iraq, Kabul in Afghanistan, Mogadishu in Somalia, always manoeuvring as close to the front lines as I could. I felt the earth shudder beneath me with the force of Hamas missiles, huddled with Syrian snipers on hilltops, interviewed bloody jihadists, and sat with mothers weeping for their murdered children. I filed urgent satellite dispatches to The Times, The Guardian, the BBC, and many others, breaking news and painting portraits of humans under extreme duress. I saw a lot of death, had guns pressed against my head, dreamed horrific dreams, all of it an echo of what my father endured in Manila. Still, back then, from 2007 to 2015, when I was a war-hopping freelance journalist, I did not dwell on or even think too much about what might happen to me in those dangerous places. I knew the risks, and I understood what I needed to do to stay alive. I never acted rashly or thoughtlessly, but I must admit that there were likely times when I sought out the danger, drawn ever closer to the fighting by a relentless desire to go where no one else had gone. I suppose that, like many younger people, I felt a sense of invincibility. And anyway, my unambiguous mission as a battlefield correspondent did not allow for much wiggle room. It was my job to give voice to the voiceless and to show the world the brutal reality of war up close and at whatever cost. I was, to say the least, extremely lucky to survive it all. Then things changed. In 2011, I met a smart, beautiful, caring woman named Alicia, and we got married. And we had 3 angelically lovely girls, Honor, Iris, and Hero. No longer was there an entity known as Benjamin Hall, journalist, existing independently of any place or anyone. Now, I was part of something much bigger than myself, my family, and there was no separating me from them or them from me. We were the same thing. We were one single entity. I understood that, or at least, I believed I did. After the birth of our first child, Alicia and I discussed plans for me to move away from the front lines and keep a safer distance from the worst of the fighting. Still, there were always conflicts I wanted to cover and stories I wanted to tell, and they inevitably drew me back into the combat zones. In 2015, I took a full-time job with Fox News, serving first in their London bureau and continuing my coverage of wars. It was only in 2021, when I became Fox's US State Department correspondent and moved to Washington, D.C., that I made that final decision to pull back from the front lines. It was much harder than I imagined it would be to make this professional change in my life. The pull